Hello! Hi! How are you? I'm Mama Andy and today we're going to be looking at some of the music for Overwatch 2.
Mama Andy's got a song for you.
Well, it's finally here. The release that literally no one was holding their breath for, Overwatch 2, dropped this week. Amidst controversies around massive queue times, huge login issues with Battle.net, and people asking, why did we actually need another Overwatch game? It's finally here. So I wanted to take a look at some of the music for the new maps. Now, here at Mama Andy, we take research seriously. So I didn't just want to jump onto YouTube and flick through the OST like some hack. I wanted to dig in, really live the gamer experience, because after all, I'm something of a pro gamer myself. Check it out.
Yes? Yeah? No.
Okay, so admittedly, I'm not going to change my channel to a gaming channel anytime soon. We're going to stick with music. Now, the music for Overwatch 2 is written by these two guys, Duke and Adam Burgess. They're part of Blizzard's in-house music team and were the same team that worked on Overwatch The First, Overwatch Prime, Overwatch... well, it was just called Overwatch, really. I played Overwatch a lot when it first came out in 2016, and one of the things I was so stunned by was the sound design of the game. Not just the music, but the way the voice lines work, the way the ultimates were broadcast around the whole map, so you know when you're about to get one shot by a Widowmaker from the other side of the map. But for me, the true magic of the Overwatch musical universe comes in the music that accompanies the maps. First of all is the bop that's bopped to the top of everyone's minds when they first heard it. This is the music for the map Midtown, set in New York City. Oh, shit. Okay, it's super cool. It's got this sort of neo-soul thing going through it with this really deep pocket groove. It's really, really sweet. We're in G minor, yeah? Yeah, it's cool. Nice. So we're on the flat 6, E flat, the dominant, back up into G minor. Really cool. It definitely gives me New York feels. It almost sounds like it could have come straight from a Jay-Z track, you know? It's got the strings in a really contemporary use with that hip-hop sound. They're really short, they're clipped, they sound sort of synthesized. They don't sound natural. It really gives me a New York old-school hip-hop vibe. So it's mixing ideas of old school 90s hip hop with this high piano line with more contemporary ideas of neo soul, which is really, really hip right now. Stepping down from the E flat major to the D major as the dominant with a 7, a flat 9 in there, into the G minor. It's cool. It sounds quite modern, and I really like the fusion of a little bit of old school hip hop with the newer neo soul vibe. It's really cool, and the fusion is really nice. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, so it's really epic sounding. It sounds like it could belong in a Marvel movie with this like really massive sounding drum kit and this big broad synth brass sound. Right? You can see Tony Stark bursting through the sound barrier to this. I don't quite know what to say about this track. It almost feels a little more generic than Midtown. It feels a little less specific, and I'm not sure that I like it as much. It definitely feels like it ties more into the Overwatch fanfare, the main theme, the da ba ba ba, and it just gives us sort of generic hero vibes. I'm not getting anything super specific from it, which is a bit of a shame. You know, it sounds like generic video game music to me, which is a little bit disappointing given what good pedigree we've had in the first Overwatch game in terms of music. Now see, this is the problem, is I'm getting the same shit from Montecarlo. You know, it feels like more generic halftime. There's nothing interesting happening in the groove. It's really synth-based. Those strings are quite nice. It's quite a cool, like, disco string thing. It's a little bit Bond-ish. It really creates a bit of tension, a bit of drive, tells us something exciting is going to happen. I think from both of these, I'm not really getting anything particularly distinctive, which is what I look to Overwatch for. We have the horns playing a bit of a fanfare. It tells us we're in hero territory, which fits what Overwatch is all about. They both just sort of seem like generic synth tunes. Maybe it's a good time to talk about the composers of Overwatch, Duke and Burgess. They interviewed Duke for Behind the Cinematic magazine, and he talked a lot about the work with synths that he did. And he talked about wanting to have synths not just represent something dark, as they did in his work in Diablo. Duke says, "I really love electronics a lot, and being able to work with electronics a lot more freely. Electronics aren't just dark, they aren't just used in a dark way. They have the potential to express any kind of emotion. They can be bright, and they can be happy." So that's kind of interesting to me, that he wanted to use synthesizers in a different way, not just to portray dark synth Diablo. But to me, what we kind of just ended up with is a bit of a generic wash. I kind of am just left with a bit of vanilla, bland taste in my mouth. I don't have anything distinctive. Overwatch is interesting thematically because the story is about a group of heroes that are summoned from all the nations on the earth to help defeat the Omnic Uprising, which is an uprising of robots. And so it requires unity, it requires international cooperation, and how we can create something big and better when we work together. And so I think when the soundtrack combines ideas, uses fusion to bring together different styles, different genres, different musical ideas, is when it most closely supports the game's themes. Midtown is a great example of that. We take a more synthesized 80s and 90s string sound and put it with a very contemporary chord progression to make something really f***ing cool. I want to talk about how some of the music in Overwatch 1 did this a little more successfully. I mean, this takes me back. So we've got this melodic minor thing happening. That's played over our 7/4 time signature. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where it gets really, really fun is when we put the house club beat over the 7/4. So house music is almost always in 4/4. I'm sure there are some exceptions on the experimental side of house, but generally speaking, no one wants to unts. They want to unk. So putting it a house beat over a 7/4 time signature is really, really interesting, and we're talking about fusion. What's cool is that we also have elements of traditional Greece music mixed in there. And then kicking straight back into our 7/4 Crazy Club remix. I mean, you can't get much more fusion than that. You're combining a traditional dum-cha, boom-cha Mediterranean sound with the Euro Club dance party cruise life but it's also got a bit of 7/4 in there to help build the tension and to help remind us that we're in a somewhat foreign world. That's the kind of fusion I like to see. That's what I'm missing from Overwatch 2. They do a similar thing in Eichenwalde. And we start in what could be an orchestral symphony, something by Mozart, something by Wagner, something by one of these really incredible composers from the German area. But then we so quickly get into... I'm in Berlin. Oh no, I'm back in Bavaria. I'm listening to a concert in the Munich Auditorium. No, I'm dancing at Berghain. So you see what I mean? It's about fusion. It's about combining archaic ideas with contemporary ideas, mixing antiquity with modernity. Because what the heroes in the story of Overwatch are trying to overcome is massive. It's something that's bigger than any individual culture. It requires us to take everything that humanity has learned up until this point and put it together and try to figure out how we're going to beat the Omnics. The fusion to me is irreplaceable. It's so important. And I feel like maybe with the exception of Midtown, we miss that. I think my expectations were pretty low with Overwatch 2, honestly, with all of the press that it got, with everyone being disappointed that they discontinued Overwatch. I think it's hard to get too excited about this game. There's not really much to be hyped about it. Some of the tunes are working really well for me so far. Maybe we'll have to wait until the official soundtrack gets released to make a proper verdict. I just don't feel like they utilize that global fusion feeling that I really loved about the original Overwatch. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you have a particular tune that you think I've overlooked, chuck it down. What are your favorites from the original Overwatch? What are your favorite voice lines, your favorite ulti commands? I would love to hear about it. In the meantime, if you're new here, please check out some of my other content. I'm sure you'll love it. Why not subscribe and stick around for more? Thanks guys, I'm Mama Andy, bye!